Are cheap speakers dead? They could be. I've been talking more and more about more expensive speakers, and it's not because I necessarily want to. It's because I've pretty much covered all of the affordable speakers, and I'm not really optimistic about their future. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about the death of the cheap speaker and whether or not we have any hope left. So what is my definition of an affordable speaker? Well, it used to be under it used to be under about $150. Then it was kind of under $200. And now, if I'm being realistic, it's under $250. And I get it, inflation is crazy, prices have gone up on everything. But there used to be a ton of speakers that were under $200. Like 10 of them. There used to be a bunch of speakers under $100. That's how this channel got started. Best speaker under $100, best speaker under $200, best speaker under $300. And I would be hard pressed today to do a best of under $100. Let's talk about what I would consider the players in the cheap speaker, or at least they were. Of course, one of my favorite speakers, I've talked about it relentlessly, is the Sony SSC S5. That speaker used to regularly go on sale around $70. Sometimes, I think twice a year, it still goes to $90. Not very often anymore. And its retail price is now $200, which I think is too much for that speaker. There's about three prices. So you have the $88 price, which happens once or twice a year. You have the $127, which happens a few times a year. $150, which $150 to $160 is usually around that price. And then the ridiculous, absurd $200. The problem is, it's actually, with all the other speakers now, still competitive at $200. But we may have some problems with Sony moving forward. Polk has two affordable series that often go on sale for around $200, even below $200. They have the new XT series. They used to have the T15, which I thought was terrible. But the XT series has improved upon that budget, lower tier, lowest tier Polk series. You can buy these at Best Buy. They're on the floor at Best Buy. Then you also have the ES series, which stands for Signature Elite, ironically. These speakers are a step up from the XT series and will go on sale. Some will go on sale under $200. So once again, you have to be cognizant of where the pricing is at on the Polk speakers too, and when to buy them. JBL has two series that can go on sale under $250. You have the Stage A130, the Stage series. Then you also have the Studio series. These are they are the only two affordable JBL speakers. JBL has a bunch of higher tier, more expensive speakers, but for affordable speakers, they have two lines, and I think we have a problem with JBL. We have Klipsch and we have Yamo. I'm lumping these two together because fundamentally they're in the same umbrella, the same company together. They're both owned by Vox Group. Actually, Yamo is owned by the Klipsch division, but they're all under Vox. So with Klipsch, you really only have one option, and that's the reference series, R51M. I think they have something called the Black series too, but I don't know what that distribution looks like. I've never seen one of those in the wild. So I think those can be maybe only purchased through Klipsch website. So if you know, put it in the comments. Anyway, you have the R51M, the R center channel, the reference towers, floor standing speakers. The R51M used to go on sale down to about $150. And at that price, it was actually not a bad speaker if you knew what you're getting yourself into. But right now, they're selling for an absurd $399, $400 for the reference R51. And that is far from what I would call an affordable speaker or a good value at that price. You have Yamo, you have the king of the budget speakers with the S803, 801, the 805s, the 807s. Not the most audiophile speaker in the world, but it is a fun speaker, and if you're just getting into hi-fi, it's gonna sound pretty darn good. A lot of punch on the bottom, a little sparkle on top. Mids are a little covered up, but that's okay if you're listening to rock and roll, poorly recorded music like I listen to. The S803 is a really good speaker, and you used to be able to get the 5-speaker home theater set for $147. Came out to be about $30 a piece for each speaker. Yamo also has the concert series, the C92 or something like that. Can't even remember the model name. Anyway, I have a little pair of bookshelves, and they sound really good. Super clean through the upper mid-range. Not a linear response by any means, but I like them. They're a fun speaker. Interestingly enough, the C93 2s have gone from $400 and change down to about $260 or $270 pretty much all the time now. Whatever they chose to do, they've lowered that price, and it's perpetually on sale at this point. And I think we have a problem with Klipsch and Yamaha. Wharf Adale, one of my favorite speaker companies. Their affordable speaker line is gone. It used to be the D series, and that was recently discontinued. And guess what? Those speakers were actually pretty good, and they came in at a very fair price. They had, I think, floor standers. They had big bookshelves, little bookshelves, a center channel. Very good, very affordable, well-built speakers. Everything we've come to love from Wharfedale, but they're gone. So we may have a problem with Wharfedale. ELAC. Oof. Thank goodness for ELAC. We have the BS41, which usually is around $150. Also will go on sale down into the 1-teens, maybe 117, 120. I've seen it twice under $100. The BS41, actually, I think I have it right here. This little guy, it's got a 4-inch woofer, but it makes a monumental amount of bass. Now, the only problem with this speaker, very low sensitivity. So if you get a bunch of power on it, it sounds great. If you don't have enough power on it, it sounds okay. But for $120, it's crazy what you can do with these speakers. ELAC also has the B5.2 and the B6.2. Now, normally their retail price is above $250. However, the B5.2 does go on sale for $199. Even at its retail price, the B5.2 is a very good speaker. I like it a lot. I like it better than the B6.2, which will sometimes go on sale under $250. Not very often, but it will happen a couple times a year. I think we can be a bit optimistic about ELAC. Finally, no video would be complete without mentioning Emotiva, because every time I say Emotiva, I get $7. Just kidding. Emotiva has 2 speakers, neither of which are really under $250. But the B1 Plus and the B2 Plus, which I think are being discontinued at this point, come in at a really great price right now. The B1 Plus, if you can get them in stock anymore, I think they're sold out about $270. Okay? So we're just going to mention them, but we can't be optimistic about Emotiva making a sub $250 speaker anymore. The future is kind of bleak. JBL, owned by Harman. Harman actually used to be a publicly traded company, but they're not. They've been kind of all over the place from a management and ownership standpoint. Actually, I'm going to do an entire video dedicated to Harman, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. Anyway, go to JBL's website and try to find the passive speakers. I dare you. You're going to be punched in the face by a variety of RGB Bluetooth speakers, wireless headphones, and a bunch of other stuff before you find their passive speakers, which is buried inside their website. And some of their passive speakers aren't even in stock anymore. I'm talking about the Stage series and the Studio series. And they have crazy pricing. Their retail pricing is completely out of line with what the street value of these speakers are. I think the Stage A130's retail price is $300 a pair, but you should only buy that speaker at $199 a pair. The Studio Series also go on crazy sales. And if I'm reading the tea leaves and I'm looking at what JBL's doing right now, I don't think there should be a ton of optimism when it comes to a new affordable speaker line, or even sticking with their existing speaker line, because you don't have to be a professor in deductive reasoning to figure out that they're not really concerned about passive speakers anymore. I think we'll always see the JBL Classic speakers, but those are very expensive and out of reach for most people. Klipsch and Yamo. Well, if you take a look at Vox's stock price and their earnings per share, it's negative. Vox is not doing very well as a company. However, even if the Vox stock goes away, Vox stock, there's actually a watch company called Vox stock. Anyway, if Vox stock goes away, I think the Klipsch name will always live on because there's so much value associated with that brand. So I don't think we're ever going to not see Klipsch speakers. But as long as they're part of the Vox group, and let's just be honest, it's business. If Vox isn't making a ton of money, if Klipsch doesn't have a ton of money to create a new speaker line, chances are we're not going to see another affordable speaker line, especially if the margins are super thin on an affordable speaker line anyway. They're going to make products that they can make money off of, especially if they're going to be traditionally distributed through retailers like Crutchfield or Best Buy, because they have to make their margins too. And Yamo, I don't know if they're going to come out with a new speaker line. The S series is pretty long in the tooth at this point, as well as the second concert series, C91-2, C93-2, etc. So personally, I am not optimistic about Yamo coming out with a new affordable speaker line, or Klipsch coming out with affordable speaker line. Polk is owned by Massey, which I think is some type of healthcare medical device company. I actually have optimism about Polk because the company that owns them knows nothing about audio. So they just wanted their revenue. And I think what they really wanted was their distribution network to the end customer. They're probably going to sell hearing aids or something. Same thing that the company that bought Sennheiser wanted. Anyway, Massey bought Polk. Well, Sound United. Polk is part of Sound United, so there's a whole bunch of stuff. The point is, they don't know anything about that business, so they're probably going to leave Polk alone. Polk, if you go to their website, not too hard to get to their speakers, and they have a whole bunch of different speaker line. We can also look at the refresh of the T series to the XT series, the S series to the ES series, and the Reserve series. We know that Polk is refreshing, making new speakers. And since their parent company knows nothing about audio, where Vox is almost completely audio, I think we can have some optimism about Polk. I think Polk will be one of the few companies left that is making quality, affordable speakers at scale. Wharfedale. I'm kind of on the fence about Wharfedale because they're owned by IAG, and they let Wharfedale do their thing, and their business is speakers. Their business is audio. I do have some optimism that Wharfedale will come out with a new affordable speaker line, but it's not a ton of optimism because, again, when you're talking about affordable speakers, traditionally distributed, and retailers need to make margin on it, and then you have those speakers that sell for a lower price in Europe, I think if we're going to get a new affordable series, it's probably going to be only for the North American market. I have no idea, but I'll be optimistic because I think Wharfedale as a company is not going to be affected nearly as much as a company like Klipsch or Yamo by how their parent company is doing financially. And I think IAG? That can't be right. IAG. I think they're doing okay financially. Just like Massey and Polk, they're kind of letting Wharfedale do their own thing. I could be completely wrong on all these. If I am, just put it in the comments. ELAC. I think we can count on ELAC. I don't know who owns ELAC, but they're a German speaker company. Ownership has moved around quite a bit, but they're in the speaker business. ELAC is a speaker company. Go to ELAC's website. What do you see when you go to their website? Speakers. Andrew Jones kicked the affordable speaker door wide open when he made the Pioneer speakers. When he moved over to ELAC, he made the first B series, which were fantastic. B 5.2s, which are fantastic. 6.2s, The Unify speakers, all fantastic. All of those speakers fundamentally are an affordable speaker. Andrew Jones left and they came out with the BS41, but I was told that he actually worked on the BS41 and it's a spectacular speaker. So I think ELAC wants to have an affordable speaker line. And again, whoever owns them leaves them alone, kind of lets them do their own thing. So I think there is some optimism to be had with ELAC. Sony. I think there is zero optimism to be had about Sony if they ever nix the SSCS5 line. Let's be honest. Do you think there's a single employee over at Sony that is dedicated to their passive speaker department? No, they designed that speaker. I don't even know what department it's rolled into at Sony, but Sony is not concerned about passive speakers. Sony is concerned about cameras. Sony is concerned about phones, about televisions, not about a $150 speaker. It's a good speaker if you pull it apart and look at the internals. It's shocking how good that speaker actually is for the money. But we are fooling ourselves if we think Sony cares at all about passive speakers. They care about making money, and they're not making a ton of money from their passive speaker line. They're making money, and that R&D is done. They basically have zero costs associated with that speaker. But to think that they'd be coming out with a new line, refreshing the SSC S5 series, is lunacy on our part. The only hope that we have with Sony is that they keep making 2-channel, they keep making 5-channel home theater receivers, and they have this add-on speaker line that people can keep it all in the family. I would be over the moon if Sony came out with another speaker line. I don't see it happening. There is one company that really flies under the radar, and I don't talk about them enough. I did early on in the channel. Cambridge Audio. Cambridge Audio has some very good affordable speakers. The SX50 and 60 are both really, really good affordable speakers. They have some higher tier lines too, but Cambridge is also owned, I can't remember, by some holding group out there. I think there's a lot of optimism to be had with Cambridge Audio, and I think I'm actually going to get another pair of these SX60s or the 50s in just to have them for long-term reference, because I think they're dinosaurs. They're the last of the dinosaurs holding on for the cheap, affordable, good sounding speakers. Q Acoustics is another company to be optimistic about. The 3010, 3020, 3030, and the 3030Is are all speakers that are fundamentally affordable. Now, they may not fit in under $250, but I think that Q Acoustics probably is invested heavily in an affordable speaker line. And the 3000 series represents a really, really good value in speakers. Now, are they below $250? Not always, but I think they're always going to have that tier of speakers. And we can hope and pray, cross our fingers, that they come in under $250. I think we can be the most optimistic about Polk, Cambridge, ELAC. Klipsch and Yamo, I don't know. If they just keep selling the S series because it's super cheap to make, then that will be around. It's kind of like the Sony SSCS5s. Whether or not we're going to see a new line from Yamo, I don't know. I'm not holding my breath. Definitely not holding my breath with Klipsch. JBL, forget about it. I would love to be wrong about JBL. I don't see it happening. And Wharfdale, I would love to see them come out with another line to replace the D series, but again, not holding my breath. What are your opinions? Put them in the comments. What do you see? Did I miss an affordable speaker line? But I'm talking about mass market companies here. I think actually the door is open for an independent company to come out and make affordable stuff. Something like a Drishelli Lab, something like a Skit Audio, some type of independent Emotiva, some type of independent company could come out and just crush it with affordable speakers. Problem is distribution, but it could be a direct-to-customer market. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. If you want to support this channel, you can sign up for Patreon. We have Patreon-only, Zooms, Discord, Facebook group. You can use the links in the description. Most of those are affiliate links, which means if you click any buy, I get a commission. Doesn't cost you any more, though, so it's a great way to support the channel. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Down at the bottom of the video, there's a thanks button. Click on it, send a couple of dollars my way, but don't feel compelled to buy me anything. You can also try out Amazon Music, Tidal, or Rune. Links in the description. Also affiliate links, which means if you click, even for a trial, I still get a couple of bucks. So don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen, maybe on your cheap speakers, because they're going away and we'll never see any more like them. And fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.